All right. Good morning, everybody. I hope everybody is doing amazing. So I'm going to start having a special guest on once a month. So I started with this guest who is my mentor, one of my mentors, one of the people that taught me everything that I know. I still go to him and get coaching from him. He's shaking his head because I love Frank. But he he taught me a lot about this business. And at the beginning, when I did not believe in myself, Frank believed in me. And so I'm thankful for Frank. I'm thankful for Jamie. We're going to have Jamie on next month. So, but I just wanted him to take a couple minutes this morning out of his day to just kind of talk to us about, where National's going, because FFL National as a whole is blowing up. And then the part that Fury plays in our next level. So Frank, like for me, this is Fury 2.0, right? So they say the people that got you to one level are not going to be the same people to get you to the next level. And so I believe that this is the squad, this is the team that's going to take us to integrity, right? Because we were getting close, and then the people that were supposed to be pulled away from the business are gone. So I'm thankful for that. So this is the new group. This is Fury and High Voltage 2.0. And this is the group that, again, I believe is going to take us to the next level that Family First Life has for us. So thank you for jumping on with us, Frank, this morning.
You are more than welcome. It's one of my favorite groups. I can't say my favorite because then other people get their feelings hurt. This is a sensitive type of business. And so I jumped on, Colleen. Y'all were getting into your 3 minutes affirmations. The first thing I heard was some guy go, "I'm the Black Wolf of Wall Street." Who said that? Like, raise your hand. You do know he went to jail, right? Like he was in prison. But I love that movie. I was dying. I almost fell out of my truck. Um, so I'm gonna go over a few things with y'all today, but to kind of answer your question where we're going, Holly, I don't know. I mean, up. That's the best answer I can give you. I think too many times people sit down and they try and draw out this perfect plan of how things are going to go. And they go into, like, my daughter's 21, right? She's planned out her next 4 years in life. Like, she's getting engaged next fall. She's getting married the following fall. She's going to be pregnant by spring. I'm like, you do know, sweetheart, that's never going to happen, right? It's just something's going to go off. And if you don't learn to just go, you know what, it is what it is. It's God's will, or, it just the way it is, you're going to lose your mind. So to answer your question, like, we're going up. That's the only way to go in this business. If you're going sideways, if you're going backwards or down, you're going the wrong way. And newsflash, it's still the greatest industry in this country, as far as I'm concerned. As far as the capital you need to get started, the education level you need to have, and being able to just outwork any situation that presents itself in front of you. So we're going up. Now, how fast we go up, that's going to be based off of a lot of things. What does Fury do the second half of 2024? What does Metro do? What does Allegiance do? What does Golden State do? All of that stuff goes into play. The biggest thing that goes into play is, what am I going to do? So we're recruiting like crazy. Obviously, the play that has been called for the last year, 12 months, is wide or die. Recruit, get people moving. That's your profitability. With this profitability, stability is death, right? If you guys probably heard that statement. So we're constantly recruiting, trying to get people rolling. We're trying to get better systems in place, higher quality leads. And I'm hesitant to say that because when we started, we were calling raw data. Like, people that did no idea why I was calling, we just called and tried to pitch them life insurance. And so when people complain about leads, it's kind of, I don't want to say it pisses me off, but it frustrates me, because I'm like, y'all have no idea what a lot of us went through to get here. And complaining about leads was like the last thing on our mind. The lawsuits and people trying to defame us and steal our team. Like, that was the real problems. Like, not high quality leads was so far down the list, it didn't even make sense. But we're trying. I mean, because we know, like, if we have what people perceive to be a better lead, then their confidence goes up. And then when their confidence goes up, they can teach people, because when you're selling at a high level, you don't take the BS on people going, these leads aren't any good, because you're using the leads. And that was always my deal. Mike, I remember Mike would come to me and go, dude, these people are complaining about the leads. I'm like, that's embarrassing. Have some respect for yourself. Well, it says free. I'm like, if these people are that stupid to think anything is free, then I don't want them as a client anyway. Next, like that's the mindset. So, but we're trying. We're trying to get better leads, better systems to just make it easier. And that's the goal. Like if any of y'all have kids on here, your goal in life is to have your kids' life be a little bit easier than yours. Or and as an agency owner manager, and not in a disrespect, like y'all are my kids in a sense, right? I want it to be easier for you than it was for Jamie and I. So that's our goal. The couple things I wanted to hit on with you guys, and actually it's three. It was gonna be two, but it's three. Y'all have to start, other than Amaka, who's written an annuity in this on this call right now? Kali and Amaka and Corinne. And there's 21 people on here. And let me tell you something. Who's heard about like debt in the business? Raise your hand. Who's ever had a fear of debt? Raise your hand. Okay. Let me explain something to you. Anybody that have ever had right annuities on a consistent basis has never rolled debt. Like never. Never. So it's like we go, well, how do we get it more profitable? Well, you first of all, you produce at a high level because you got the biggest override on yourself. Second of all, you teach your agents all four quadrants of the business: final expense, mortgage protection, IULs, and annuities. And annuities is a big, big key because you find them in final expense leads, mortgage protection leads, and IUL leads. And it's a bonus. The way we looked at our annuity volume was anything we got paid for the annuity was a bonus that stayed in our savings account, unless we absolutely needed it. And most of the time, as we got further along in our journey, that stayed there the whole year. And at the end of the year, we would use it to pay taxes. We'd use it to take vacations, use it to buy my boat, used it to buy this office I'm sitting in. So it's a bonus that you can utilize. Used it, paid debt sometimes, and they're not that complicated. Amaka, can you unmute for a second?
Yes, sir.
You had that annuity appointment on Saturday, and you were calling me, and you seemed a little nervous and stressed out because you didn't know what an IRA was. You didn't realize an IRA was just a 401k, 403b, individual retirement account. That's all it is, right? So it could be a Roth, it could be a 401, a 403, a TSP. And then once you realize that, you were like, good. And then you were like, all right, are you going to be available? And I'm like, part of me is going like, I'm available always. But then part of me is going like, she's not going to grow. You've already written 3 or 4 annuities. You're not going to grow if you don't swing by yourself. Like at some point, you got to take the ball off the tee. When I coached T-ball, I didn't use a fucking tee. Pardon my French. If a kid can't hit a ball, and 90% of the time I'm throwing it at his bat, I'm like, hold your bat out, I'll hit it, right? It gives them confidence, then they start swinging. I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to get on this call with you, Amaka. If you need me, I'm here. And you texted me about 20 minutes in, you're like, piece of cake. And I'm like, dude, that's the story of this business. It's like people are so worked up and afraid to do things. And then once they do it, they're like, that's a piece of cake. You remember learning to ride a bike? And
I do.
yeah, dude, we lived on a hill like this. You know, my dad taught me to ride a bike. He put me on that thing and pushed me down the hill. Dude, I wrecked 60 times. And every time I wrecked, bleeding, blood, bumps, bruises, because it wasn't like a flat piece of ground. And my mom was yelling at him. He's like, Jane, he'll figure it out, or else he's gonna get hurt. And that's the way we learned back in the day. And I feel like we've gotten so soft in just in this world now. It's like we can't speak truth. No, figure it out, Amaka. It's not that complicated. They can't lose any money. If they want lifetime income, they can have it. We don't charge fees most products, and there are no caps. Can you beat that? I mean, it's just that simple. So y'all have got to start focusing on asking the golden question, because Maka's not doing anything different than y'all doing a day to day. And Corinne and Kali, they just asking the question, like, what do you have that acts like life insurance? And then she's writing in annuities. What was that annuity amount for Saturday, Amaka?
It was 85K, and then she's so used to losing money that her
Hmm.
husband has about 100K. She like, well, I'm just gonna hardship withdraw him and start him an annuity because he's 55.
Okay.
So we got that appointment lined up.
So that'll be $11,000 in your pocket, roughly. I mean, who's ever made 11 grand for working an hour and a half? Like it's just it blows my mind that people aren't going like, I need to learn how to do this. So y'all got to do that. It'll make your life so much
And,
easier.
and one last thing, she was like, this is too good to be true.
Mm,
But when I was with KG and I wrote my first one, the first page of the illustration kind of tells you everything to say. If you don't know what to say, it says everything. And she went through it, and then she was like, yeah, this is too good to be true. And I just gave some of the stories that people say.
yep.
She was like, well, I'm losing money anyway. Let's do this.
Well, and here's the thing. The thing that makes it not too good to be true is you can't access all of your money tomorrow. That's the downside of an annuity is liquidity. So when people ever say that, that's what I say. Hey, first of all, that's what broke people say. That sounds too good to be true. It's because you're broke. Like, and you're, by the way, you're not broke. You've got 86 grand and 100, it's $186,000. You have more money than 70% of Americans. So stop thinking that way. But here's the downside, and here's what makes it not too good to be true. And I tell people if you managed your money the way the insurance companies did over a 20-year period, you would have the same results. However, you would have the same type of results, but not the same results because they're guaranteeing no losses because they can afford to ride it out for 30, 40, 50 years where you can't. They have time. That's why these things are so good. So annuity things. Thank you, Omaka, for doing that because I was excited. Like when you sent me that text, I'm like, yeah, she's got it. Now you're not, and our goal is to have you not need us. Am I ever not there? No, we're always going to be here. But the less you need us, the more time I can spend with someone else that does need us. So you've got it. Now, are you going to come up with an annuity that you need help with? For sure. I mean, you're 4 in, 5 in. I used our resources probably for the first 2 or 3 years because things would come up. I'm like, never heard of this. Make a phone call, we answer it. So, guys, not that complicated. I encourage you to do it. So, the two topics I want to talk about today is embracing failure and embracing change. The two biggest things I think people freak out the most over is is change and failure because people hate change. Like they hate it. They hate it with a passion because they're just afraid of what it looks like, not knowing, if they've done something, a certain way for so long, and then we're going, we've got to shift. They don't know what's coming. And for me, that's always been the excitement in this business. I was the black sheep of my family. I always wanted things differently than the way everybody else had them. And it's either a good thing or a bad thing. It was a bad thing for a good period of my life because they told me don't do that and I did that and most of the stuff they're telling me not to do as a kid wasn't really good for me. But as I got older, it became a really good um scenario for me because people were like, you should not go work for yourself or you should go get a job. You should go to college. And I'm not downing college. I have my own opinion on college. I think it's a ripoff in most cases. Yes, I do. But all that stuff, I'm like, you know what? I don't want to. I don't like. I love my parents. My dad got up every day at 4:30 in the morning. He was out of the house by 5:30. He didn't get home until sometimes 7, 8, 9 o'clock at night. If they called him at 1 in the morning, he'd get out of bed, go to work. Like, dude, he was an animal. But I didn't want to live on that budget. And so I'm like everybody I knew that was older than I was, that was giving me advice. I'm going like, I don't want to wind up like you. Like I'm with all due respect, it's like when people try to give me parenting advice, I'm like, then I want my kids to grow up like yours. Sorry, let me find somebody with really good kids, or let me find somebody that's making a bunch of money that has a great marriage, that's living a beautiful life. Let me ask them what they're doing. And that's the thing. So change freaks people out because they don't know what the outcome is going to be. And if you think of it the right way, it's just a journey. And the journey, I was talking to Sean Saturday or so, yesterday, Saturday. And he was just talking about when we left NAA, and he's like, it was humbling the amount of people that left there. And I'm like, he was like, I was so shocked. And I remember vividly driving him to meet a carrier, because at this point in time we couldn't afford to fly. So we drove for 5 hours to meet a carrier. And it was like a top secret meeting. It was fun. And I'm like, and I remember driving there going, dude, I think half the company's going to leave with you. He's like, you're crazy. I'm like, dude, there's no, like, when he would get up on stage to speak at our last company, the room would explode. And when the CEO got up, like, they cheered, and there were people that were tasked with getting everybody fired up before the CEO came up. But nobody did that for Sean, and the room would go nuts. I'm like, dude, they love you. They're gonna, that's exactly what happened. He said that was so humbling. I'm like, that was so fun. He's like, it was fun. Like, we had burner. It was like we had, dude. They could literally have a Netflix series about the start of FFL. We had burner phones because we knew they were going to sue us. So we would all talk on these burner phones about what we were doing. And then when they not confiscated, but when the attorneys requested access to our cell phones and our computers, we were like, okay, take them. They didn't have nothing. I was like, dude, it was so fun. But we started out with 9, and then we went down to 6. 3 of them couldn't hack it. They quit. They were like, I can't do this. But the 6 that stuck, like, are paid. But it was just the journey of that whole thing. I'm like, do you remember this? Do you remember this? We sat on the phone for like a half an hour just reminiscing about all the crazy shit that happened in the first 2-3 years of FFL. And I'm like, dude, that was so fun. Like, I wake up some days now going like, I'm sorry, this is kind of boring. Like, we're not dealing with any nobody's coming at us. Nobody's trying to hurt us. And you got guys that like aren't nobody trying to hurt us, but I don't pay attention to threats that are not valid. Like the guy that at the bar tells me he's gonna punch me in my face. I'm like, dude, if you're gonna punch me, you're just gonna punch me. If you're talking about that means you're scared to punch me. I'm not worried about you. It's like that kind of stuff. So start to embrace change and do it fast. A key to success is most successful people make changes a lot faster than unsuccessful people. And that's a fact. They change. And I'm not now here's the other side of that coin. Sometimes you can change too fast. We've got some people right now, not on this call, in this group, that change every 4 days. And I'm like, dude, you can't ever see where you're at unless you give yourself a 90-day window to look in. It's like you can't come up with a game plan for football watching 2 plays. It doesn't work that way. You got to watch the entire game, the offensive series, the defensive series, see what their tails are, see what their see what their tendencies are, and then you can come up with a game plan to counteract what they do. It's the same thing in business. 90 days. Then you look at the results of 90 days and go, all right, if it's working, I'm sticking with it. If it's not working, I'm making a change. Kali, you called me, I don't know, how long ago did y'all stop that in-person BOM that you were doing?
Oh, that was at the end. We did it for 8 months. I know we did it for 8 months, and then
For
we,
8 months,
yeah.
which I'm not mad at, because recruiting's a little bit longer. Like sales 90 days, recruiting, I'd give yourself 6 months. You did it for 8, not mad at you. Then you were like, this isn't working. What do I do? I'm like, stop. Like, it's not working. You're wasting time. Stop. And you stopped, and that's just kind of the way it goes. But sometimes we hang on to things too long, and we're wasting time and money. So you guys have to start thinking about, what can I change? Or putting time limits on stuff. Like, I'm doing this, if I'm not seeing a result inside of 90 days, 120 days, then I'm changing it. Certain things you don't change. Get up like the stuff you're all doing, your affirmations. You don't change that. You might change what you're saying, but you do that day in and day out. Reading, do that day in and day out. Exercise, do that day in and day out. That's the foundation, the simple stuff that we do that has to stay consistent. But the types of leads, sometimes that changes. How you're calling, sometimes that changes. When we went from 99% face to face to 80% virtual, That's a change. And we still have people that are hanging on to, I love face-to-face. I'm not going virtual. You can do that. The challenge is you're not going to recruit anybody. Nobody wants to do it anymore. This is the virtual business. So they call you and go, hey, what do you guys do? Oh yeah, I go out, I drive around for 12 hours every day, 4 days a week, maybe 5, and I make a bunch of money. And then they call someone else like Nina and Hayden. They go, yeah, we give you a bunch of leads. We teach you a script. You sit on your phone, you call, you can do it from anywhere. They're like, I take that option. They still make a bunch of money. So we've done it. And I'm telling y'all this from a point of I've done this. I've waited to change. Like when social media came out, I'm like, screw that. I hate social media. I'm not doing it. And we were behind the 8 ball, probably 2 years behind everybody else. Guys like Andrew Taylor, the podcast, same thing. We were behind because I just didn't want to do it. And that's a problem. So if you have stuff you're not sure about, dude, reach out to colleague. Reach out to someone that you know, Corinne, Amaka, someone that's further along than you. Go, this is what I've got. Should I make a change? And if they say yes, make the change. Like, my God, just make the change and make it quick. That's the other issue is like sometimes I'll like do this, change this. And then 2 months later, they call me about the same problem and they're still doing the same thing. And that's kind of what's the most frustrating. If any of y'all have built or are building now, most frustrating thing is for people to ask you advice and then 2 months later still doing the same thing. And it's almost like they don't really think your advice is any good. So then I'm like, don't ask me that. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what to tell you. I have plenty of other people that will follow, and we're not telling you out of strength, position of weakness. It's a position of strength. We've done it. We've been through it. So that's the first thing. The second one is embracing failure. This is my favorite one, and I think there's 2 different ways to look at failure. There's a complaining way to look at failure and a woe is me way to look at failure. And there's a what can I do differently to not have that happen way of looking at failure, a teaching moment. And if you guys can get into the fact that every single mistake is a lesson, and when you find the lesson in that mistake, you get stronger. And the goal is to be Hercules in this business. The more mistakes you make, the better off you are. And typically, the best lessons or the best mistakes teach the best lessons are the most expensive mistakes. Like those are the ones that give you lessons that are worth millions. I mean, millions. And that's a tough thing for people. Nobody likes to fail. Hell, I don't like to fail, but it's a mindset thing. You got to change your mindset. We're human. We're all going to make mistakes. It's like you can boil it down to, and some of y'all might have heard this analogy. But if you're sitting at a red light and someone rear ends you, it's not your fault, right? I mean, but if you look back, you could probably figure out a way to make it your fault if you're truly trying to grow every day. Well, how do you do that? Well, were you driving the speed limit the entire time you were driving until you got to that point of that red light where you got rear-ended? Did you run any yellow lights? Did you speed up at the yellow light or slow down? Did you walk out of your house on time? Did you walk out of your house and realize, shit, I forgot my cell phone? Walk back in 4 or 5 seconds. Like the tiniest little thing could make a difference in getting rear-ended in that situation or not. Like literally you running one yellow light, rolling through a stop sign. All of that stuff could have prevented you from being where you were at in that moment in time. If you dug that deep into any situation, right? The challenge is, dude, even if you think it's not your fault, look at a situation and go, what could I have done differently to prevent that from happening? And when you can do that, that's powerful because everybody likes to be right. Majority of people, when we tell them what they're doing wrong, get a little defensive. And that's okay. Like it doesn't bother me because that happens. It just is what it is. But that usually the people that get defensive when we're trying to give them a course correction or say, hey, you should do it this way instead of this way, are the ones that aren't winning yet. And part of the reason they're not winning is because of the way they take any type of feedback. So embrace it. Embrace failure. Get feedback. That's how you grow. Dude, mistakes are mistakes. Do I make 100 of them a day? Could care less. Never make them intentionally. Never do it to harm people. But every time I make a mistake, I sit back and go, what could I have done different? Shit, Mike File left our team October of 2018. Dude, I was livid. Like the way we are now is the way we've been. I might have been a little rough around the edges, but we give, we help, we're always available. And I'm like, the nerve of this dude to walk away. Like, I took it personal, but Sean said to me, dude, I don't care how much you think he left and him being an asshole was his fault. Dude, you have to look back and go, why would they want to leave you? And that was a tough statement to hang. Like, why? What did I do to make him ever want to leave? And when I did that, I'm like, huh. Sometimes I was a little brash. Sometimes I was a little dismissive. Maybe sometimes I was a dick. And then I started to tone it down a little bit. And then things started changing. I don't know if someone leaves us now, it's because they truly, truly, truly in their heart think there's something better, which we already know there isn't. It's a thought because these companies that pop up here and there, they're always selling something. But at the end of the day, we have the highest comp. We have the bonus on producing and on man VP. We have the VP bonus, the building bonus, and the producer bonus. Nobody has both of those. Nobody pays a 145 comp with those two bonuses. We have the best training in the industry. We have the carriers. We have integrities backing. Like it doesn't get any better. But if y'all are building, somebody's going to walk away. You're not going to. You can't. You're going to. You're going to take it personal. Trust me, I know. But the best thing you can do is go, why did they walk away? What could I have done different for them to walk away? Hell, I have people quit all the time now. I just had a guy quit, I don't know, 2 weeks ago. He's like, I'm going with this company. He's like, you're just so busy, you don't have the time for me. And I was like, shit, you know what? I didn't make it a priority to help him. That's on me. Couldn't even be mad. I'm like, good luck to you, bud. I wish I could have done this differently because that would have never happened if I could do it again. But I learned from it. And I'm 14 years into the business. Like, sorry. But ego, I'm going like, dude, does he know who I am and what I do for the company? Like, you should suck it up. No, he doesn't. Like, no, like, dude, slow down, Frank. You ain't that big. Take care of your people. It's a change. I embraced it. I wasn't mad at the guy. It's my fault. Now, could he have figured it out on his own? For sure. Could he have reached out to Kali? Could he have reached out to Corinne? Could he reach out to Mike, Dom, Jamie? Yeah, he could have, but he didn't. So then I go, that's on me because I could have reached out to him a hell of a lot more than I did. So that's two things I wanted to talk about today. Kali, is there anything you wanted me to hit on specifically, or is there any questions you got?
No, like I said, we're just going to the next level, Frank. Like I said, this is the team. We have it's a different culture. So I was telling somebody the other day, this is not Fury from 2022. This is a completely different culture, different mindset. Number one thing is I told you at the beginning of the year, our mission and our vision, our goal was to give, grind, and grow.
Yep.
And we're starting to see the fruits of that happening now. So I can't wait to see how the rest of this year wraps up and ends. So
I'm gonna give you something to think about, Kali.
okay.
This is what Sean did with me when all that happened with Mike, and he's like, dude, you need to rebrand yourself. Because we were FFL Maryland for 6-7 years. And then 8 years, because we started in 2020, 2010, right? No.
Yeah, when I started, were you FFL Maryland?
Yeah, yep. No. We were already national, I think, at that point in time.
Well, I have already thought about that. It would the name I already had a name.
Yep.
Phoenix Financial Group.
Okay. Yeah, I would think about rebranding you guys because you know what? Like Fury's been around for a minute, but this is a new Fury. You have a lot of different stuff to offer. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for
That's what
sure.
people need to know. So we went from Maryland to national. Like Maryland was dead, gone. Like I forgot about it just like that, and we were national, and it helped because it was like, you know, this is a bad analogy, but you're married and you marry a scumbag and you take his last name, and then you find a new man who's really good. You take his new, like it's a new name. Like
Yeah,
you're
yeah, yeah.
so might be something to think about. I'm not sad, but it just that just popped in my head because that's you keep saying Fury 2.0. Let's just make it something. Fury's gone. This is
I
the new.
love it.
So,
Okay.
but
Yep, I was
thank
already
you
thinking
guys.
that.
Yeah, thank you for
But
having me.
guys, let's take a second and unmute and thank Frank, because Frank's time is super valuable. All of our time is valuable. Frank, thank you for taking time out of your schedule to talk to us this morning and pour into us. Thank you. Thank you, Frank.
Fine.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Frank.
Love